Thursday. I am in the shed. I should have been in the cafe with my friends, but guess who overslept? I woke up to a message from one of my friends saying she was sorry she couldn't make it. And so I had to send a message to the third friend saying, sorry, neither of us is coming. So she was, poor soul, was sitting in the cafe on her own. Sorry, Sarah. So, excuse me, I'm very hot. It's very humid today. So I decided, bite the bullet, come in the shed, do some tidying. To the naked eye, your eye, it may not look as though I've done much, but I have actually done quite a lot. If I shift my big body out of the way, maybe you can see what I've been doing. If I shift out, right. Oh, it's a bit awkward. There's no room in this shed to manoeuvre. Right, I started off in that corner, moved all the rubbish that was there and put the bags on the shelf. Oh my good giddy aunt. Then I moved on to the next shelf, which is behind the chair. Oh dear, if you can see. Sorry, hello. Right, I tidied up the cottons, put all the blues and the pinks together. The next row down, I put the greens, turquoises, and the row that you can't see has actually got sock yarn and other things in it. Now if I move my body out the way the other way, going in the corner there, I sorted out the creams and the whites. Then we come down to some fancy yarn that I had, and then further down I've put some of the fancy cakes, you know, the yarn cakes. I didn't have enough, well I did have enough room to put them there, but they would have gone into the corner, which is a bit of a no man's land, yeah. So I changed my mind and I'm hoping everything will fit. I've gone now on to the errands there and the errands here, and I've still got loads and loads and loads of oddments. Whoa, all over. Woo, woo. Oh, do you know I can't manoeuvre this thing. The table is just full of oddments and sodments and whatever you got. I have sorted out a big, oh sorry, waving you in the air. There is absolutely no room in this shed to do any manoeuvring, which I am hoping to sort. So I'm doing it, I'm going from that end. That end's done now. I've got one empty cubby hole at the bottom, but it's in the way really, and I've got the chair, my spare chairs. Oh, you can't see, can you? I've got my spare chairs, my fold-up chairs in there. So I've got to the errands now. I've got bagfuls of assorted bits, pieces, goodness knows what. These are bits left over from when I made those, you know, the jackets that were like the Frida Kahlo style jackets I did. I had all different colours in them. So I've still got lots of different colours left over. So I think it's time to make myself a Frida Kahlo cardigan since I didn't have one. And I do seem to have quite a few purples, which, you know, kind of my colour, isn't it, you know. So I think I might be doing that. I've got some other pinky colours that I could incorporate. I will have to put my thinking cap on, and if you know my brain at the moment, the thinking cap doesn't always fit. I found this bag which I love this yarn. It's Boho Signet Sprite. Look at those colours, aren't they gorgeous? And I've got about 5 or 6 of those. And then this is out of my comfort zone really, but it's pretty. It's like very pale shades of turquoises, greens and stuff. And maybe make it for me, maybe it will be a gift for someone. So I don't really know. As I say, I've got a whole, that's maroon, so that could be incorporated into a Frida Kahlo cardigan. I've got all sorts of bits and bobs, you know, that I must have used at some stage. So I'm trying to organise them. This is from vintage, from when I had the shop. And I actually did find a pattern for caftan the other day. I don't know whether I've got enough though, because they're only 40g bowls. This is a maroon. Looks a bit red on camera, but it's actually a winey maroony colour. It's listed as caftan, so that's obviously vintage. So that might make something. Although of course being, you know, plus size like type of thing, it does take a bit more than other people. Yeah, I've got bits and bobs. This is Harmony. This one came from Laurie's Little Yarn Shack, which I do miss like mad. She closed down sadly, and I miss her, and so do a few others. And there's some purple as well from Harmony. That came from Laurie's Little Yarn Shack. There's 190 grams in these bowls, so there's 3 bowls and a little bit, because I must have used it for something else. Wouldn't be me if I hadn't used it for something else, would it? Yeah, I found like lots of sock yarns, beautiful sock yarns. I have a thing, I don't like using this gorgeous sock yarn for socks. It goes against the grain, it's like, no, 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 no. And I found that one, which is ice cream, Lion, I think it's Lion brand. That might make a hat, you know, to... I've got a bag full of hats actually that they probably won't sell, so they probably go to the homeless, so they may do that. And I've also got some more lilacs and purple, so I definitely feel that there is a Frida Kahlo's jazzy cardigan coming out of all this lot. Yeah. Oh dear. So I've got the rest. I've got a whole pile of the room. I've got some, like, you know, the big plastic containers with the lids on that I really don't want to get rid of, just in case I need them. But I have nowhere to store anything in this place. Nowhere. You think the shed would be big enough, wouldn't you? But I mean, there's small space. My son went into my bedroom this morning because he was trying to sort out, we're having troubles with the internet, it isn't going into my room. So I can't, you know, use Alexa, and I can't use my Kindle. Which has annoyed me because I think this is why I've overslept today. Because the 2 nights previously I didn't get any sleep. And my way of sleeping is either to put music on low on Alexa for an hour, or tell it to tell me a story, or I go on to Fire and do a short story, Agatha Christie or something like that. So because it didn't work, I've been like staring at 4 walls. And I can't sit up in my bed. I don't know what there is about it, but I cannot sit up in it. I have to lie down. So consequently, if I'm reading, it's like falling over my face, or my glasses go skew-whiffed and I can't see what I'm reading, so I get bored with that. And then I lie there contemplating, shall I get up? Shall I get up? And I think, no, you're going to go to sleep eventually, don't. So of course, last night I went in and I was tired because I'd had 2 nights with her. Hardly any sleep at all. So, thunk. And the dogs usually wake me up having a bark fest. But guess what, today they didn't. So I woke up and I'm like, 11:45? What on earth? And then I looked at my phone and one of my friends saying, sorry, I don't feel very well today, I'm not meeting you as usual. You know, give my regrets like to Sarah. Then I'm thinking, oh my goodness, Sarah's sitting there on her own in the cafe wondering where I am. So I sent her a message saying, shall I get dressed, and hurriedly, you know, come up to the cafe. She said, no, it doesn't matter, I'll just go home. So I had some, I won't call it breakfast, I had some brunch. And I thought, what can you do with the rest of your day? And I thought, go in the flipping shed. You've been threatening it, you've been saying you're going to do it. If you only do part of it, at least you've achieved something. So I've got a big bag, well, 2 bags full of oddments that I'll take to Knit Club. They're always making bits and bats at Knit Club, so there's one lady makes lap rugs, you know, for the elderly. Another one makes cat blankets. Another one makes little cardigans and hats, you know, for the Prem unit or something. So I thought, well, they'll use oddments up, won't they? Whereas I say to myself, I'm going to use my oddments up, and I never do. I never do. I've got a pile of oddments in the lounge, in a cupboard in the lounge, you know, and I thought, no, stop it. Just stop being silly about keeping oddballs, you know. You are not going to use them. And we don't use crochet dishcloths, but Knit Club, they do make them. So the lady who makes them, sadly the lady who makes them's broken her arm, but I'm sure somebody else will do them. So, oh dear, I posted all the dresses off yesterday, the ones that have been sold and paid for that I put on eBay. There's still a couple on there, I think there's a couple. And I've actually got 2 bids on my crochet jackets, yay! And I've sold the 2 waistcoats, you know, the waistcoats that are circular, all the bright colours. The purpley one and the green one, a lady at Knit Club said to me, you know, how much do you charge for making them? And I said, well, you know, you want those if you make me like an offer or something. Anyway, she made me a really large offer, which I'm not going to accept, you know. I can always make myself more. You know, I was only making them to pass my time. Making them because I fancied doing the pattern. So there's plenty of time for me to make myself more. I can get the colours again. You know, it's not precious, is it? I mean, some things I've got in my shed are like antique yarns, are precious, that I won't get rid of because I know I can't get them again. It's like the ice yarn, you know, I will not part with most of the ice yarn. Some I did because I'm thinking, you really are not going to use this. But the cottons that I got from Hobby, is it Hobby? And the cottons I got from ice yarn, no, I won't part with them because cotton, you always use cotton, don't you? You know, you always do. Even if it's next summer or the summer after, if I'm still here. I'll use up the cotton, yeah. Hence all the cotton behind me. The only one that I possibly will either part with or whatever is pink. People say to me, oh, you really suit pink, but it isn't my colour, you know. I really just don't like pink. I like bright pink. I like cerise, you know, bright colours. But although they say, I think it comes from when I had very dark hair. See, I've got a good memory, I can remember that far back. When I had very dark hair, I didn't suit the pastel colours because I was always pale. I was always too pale for my hair. People used to think I dyed my hair dark because the face sort of didn't match, if you know what I mean. And people, you know, odd people used to say to me, your hair, you dye it too dark, you know, and I used to say, it's my own colour, you know, my own colour's very dark. Anyway, when I started going lighter, first of all, lighter, brown colours, lighter altogether. And then one day, I was at work, and it was when my son and daughter-in-law were living with me temporarily in between breaks in Spain. And I came back and I said to her, do I look pale? Do I look okay? And my daughter-in-law said, why? And I said, do you know, so many people today have asked me if I'm feeling okay, am I not ill? And she said, it's your hair. She said, it's too dark for you. She said, that's what's making you look washed out. Because I didn't wear a whole lot of makeup plastered on, you know, for work. I used to do a bit of eyeliner and shadow, but not the, you know, the full slap. Because, you know, when you're working all day in a sort of, it was always hot in the job centre. You know, you'd start sort of running down your face and you were looking a bit like Kiss, you know. So, I didn't wear a lot of, like, foundation or anything like that. So she said, your hair's too dark for your complexion, that's what it is. She said, either you need to wear a darker foundation, which I didn't want to do, or we need to lighten your hair. So she said, we'll put blonde on it. And I went, blonde? I said, I'm not going blonde. She said, no, it won't go blonde. She said, it'll just go lighter, which it did. So I did that for quite some time, and I even experimented with like ginger red colour. And then as I've got older and the grey started to come through, I went blonde. I think my niece decided we would go blonde, and we did. We went blonde. So I've been blonde for about the last, what, 10 years or more. And I'm just not ready for grey. No, I'm just not ready for grey yet. Call me vain, call me whatever, but I'm just not ready for grey yet. Anyway, I've got a whole lot more to do. I just stopped because I needed an orange drink. It's a 0 sugar one, even though that's supposed to be bad for you as well, if you believe all you read. Do you know, if you believed all you read about what you eat and what you drink, you'd be eating grass, wouldn't you, water. They find fault with everything we're eating, don't they? Oh, you can't have that, it's got too many sugars in, can't have that, it's got that. And having said that, I just got a letter this morning. Diabetes, you know, blood tests, HbA1c, that's going to be terrible. I know it is, because I've not got my injections, have I? Still no sign of them. I'm going to have words with her when I go on Monday and say, look, come on, I've put £5 on. I don't like this, yeah. Oh, plane going over. So, I'm not happy about putting weight on. It's been very hard work to get rid of it. Whoever says, you know, dieting's easy, it's not easy. It's not easy stopping eating the things that you like, is it? You know, it's just not. As my friend used to say, it's die with a T, diet, isn't it? Yeah. And sadly, the things that I like are the things that are probably bad for me. I mean, if you read the labels on your food in the supermarket, you're like, what is that? There's a list, isn't there, of about 20 items, and you're like, what's that? Oh, like long, long words, and you're thinking, what on earth am I eating, or what am I drinking? I mean, it was probably better when we were younger, when everything, there was no such thing. Fast food was the chip shop, wasn't it? You know, the fish and chip shop. That was your fast food back in the day. Or something on toast, yeah. You know, there wasn't... I can remember when I was about, maybe in my late teens, the first sort of curry. Well, they say Indian food. It never is, because it's always from Bangladesh or Pakistan. Very, very few Indian restaurants are actually Indian people making them, but they just call them Indian restaurants. Maybe it wouldn't be the same if they said Pakistani restaurant, Bangladeshi restaurant, although we are more open-minded these days about where people come from. But back in the day, I mean, people talk about prejudice today, but back in the day when I was a teenager, it was like, whoa, you know. I lived in a small village where, you know, we never saw anybody that was ethnic at all. There was no Chinese, you know, chip shops or anything like that. We never saw anybody ethnic. I think the first person I ever saw was, well, looking back, he must have been a Sikh, because he had a turban on. Coming door to door, selling scarves and stockings and things like that. Which was just after the war, when, you know, things were still on a ration. You had clothing coupons, you had all sorts of things. I don't know whether you had them in America, but we did. We certainly did. And, you know, the ladies couldn't get, you know, stockings now on stockings. And this chappie was coming door to door selling things like that. So that was the first person I ever saw of colour, if you know what I mean. And then the second person I saw was a guy from Trinidad who was the conductor on the bus, you know, taking the fares. But apart from that, there was no one. So it was quite a shock when the cotton mill started, you know, recruiting people from Pakistan to come and work in the cotton mills. And it was like, whoa, you know, where have all these people come from? And so, you know, I was brought up, I wasn't racist by any stretch of the imagination. It was just bewilderment, you know. It was just like, oh, you know, who are they? They're a different colour to me, you know. But, I mean, eventually, as the years have gone by, everybody's more cosmopolitan now. Everywhere's mixture of... Manchester is a huge, huge melting pot. I always used to say you can stand on a street corner in Manchester and somebody from every nationality will walk past you. Yeah. Huge, huge melting pot, Manchester. Not perhaps where I lived. That was sort of a little bit mixed, but not too much so. But the centre of Manchester, Because of course you get a lot of students, you get a lot of everything coming into Manchester. And I must say in Cleveland's here, there's not an awful lot of people who are not white. I think it's probably because of the job situation. You know, there's no jobs for people to do, you know. Then they won't come, will they, to live here, yeah? It's a shame, really, because Fleetwood could do with a really big injection of places to work, yeah? You know, big companies, you know, I mean, the fishing industry went a long time ago. I think the only companies we've got here are like Fisherman's Friend that makes the cough sweets. We need more industries to come and, you know, set up, you know, factories here. That's what we need. And then you'd get more young people, more people coming in to work, you know, more of a diverse, you know, ethnic population, if you know what I mean. Because by and large, a lot of the ethnic people are workers. They do work. Whereas sadly, I worked at the job centre, remember. Sadly, a lot of our teenagers are just work shy. Where I came from, well, not where I came from, that was fine, but where I worked in Salford, there was a whole generation, like third generation of people who'd never worked. You know, they'd never worked, their father had never worked, their granddad had never worked. And it was like a culture, you know, that they just grew up that way. I mean, anybody who's had a work ethic and anybody who's always worked like I have, we kind of don't understand this ethic, you know, of not wanting to work, you know. I mean, my mother would never have allowed it for a kick-off, you know. The minute I left school, it was like, well, you better get yourself a job, you know, get about applying, you better get to the job centre. Which, in those days, they wouldn't even entertain me because I wasn't 18. I was 17 when I left school, not quite 18. So I went into the job centre to try and look for work, and they don't want to know you, you know, because you're not claiming them, you know. So I used to look in the newspapers, you know, the adverts in the newspapers, to try and find myself a job. I went for a few interviews that I didn't get, and then eventually I got taken on at the National Provincial Bank, it was at the time. It's now the NatWest. And I got taken on there. But I didn't last long there. I liked the job, don't get me wrong, and I would have stayed. But my friend and I were trying to arrange our summer holidays. We wanted to book to go. We were going to St Ives. And we kept getting, like, knocked back. If you don't book, you're not going to get a place. It wasn't quite as bad as it is now where, you know, school holidays and that. It wasn't quite as bad as that. But I think we wanted to go in June or July or something. And work, the bank, was being really awkward. Oh, everybody who's more senior to you has to pick the time that they want. You get sort of like the leftovers. So I kept asking every week, saying, look, we've got to book this, you know, holiday let thing. We've got to book it, otherwise we won't get in. Because we weren't going in a hotel. We hadn't got that kind of money. We were just going into a little flat, me and my friend. So it went on and it went on, and eventually I thought, oh, sack this, you know, I'm just going to book it. So me and my friend, we booked it. So I went in and I said, right, I've booked my holiday, because you wouldn't tell me when I could have it off. I've booked my holiday. Very small bank, and of course the bank manager said, you can't have it. I said, what do you mean I can't have it? He said, you can't have it. Such a body's booked that fortnight off. And I said, yeah, but I'm just the office junior, you know, I'm not wanted as a cashier or anything like that. Doesn't matter. Only allowed one person off at a time, because what if anybody goes off sick? I mean, they wouldn't get away with it now. So I just burst into tears, and I went to, you know, downstairs to the ladies, and I just cried my eyes out. One of the girls said to me, what's the matter? I said, they won't let me have the holiday. I said, then I booked it, paid the deposit and everything. And she goes, oh, well, I don't know. She says, but that's the rule. She said, you know, the last one in kind of gets the dregs. So I said to her, well, what can I have? And they said, I think it was beginning of May or the end of September. And I said, I don't want that. I said, I want some sunshine, I want my holiday. Anyway, I went home and I said to my mum, I'm not having this. I said, I'm resigning. Anyway, she's like, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. I said, can't I? So I walked in the following day and stuck a letter on the boss's table. He said, what's that? I said, my mum's resignation, because you had to give a mum. My mum's resignation. But why? So I told him why, and he's going, well, I'll get the, what did he say? I'll get the, what do they call it? Union. I'll get somebody to talk to you. So, this union person turned up and said, what's the problem? So I said, it's not fair, you know. They've messed me about for over a month. Wouldn't tell me when I can have my holidays, blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm just about fed up with it. And she or he, I can't remember, went straight back in and told the manager exactly everything I'd said, even though they said it was going to be confidential. Everything I'd said, told back to them. So I said, no, that's it. I said, you can keep my letter of resignation. I said, I'm not changing my mind. I'm not coming back. So, of course, after the month, my mum's going, well, what are you going to do now? You need to find yourself another job. And by this time, it was like drifting up to the holidays. And I said to her, well, I can't really have another job when I go in and say, yeah, but in 3 weeks' time, I'm going away for a fortnight. I'll leave it until, I come back off my holidays. So mum being mum, well, you're not sitting there doing nothing all day, Lady Jane. That was her name, Lady Jane. She said, you can come in the shop. Work there. She said, I can't pay a wage like you had, but she said, you can have some, like, odd money or whatever it was. She said, you can have that. And we'll, like, you don't have to give me any keep. We used to say keep when they give you for your rent, your food and that. You just gave a portion of your wage up to your parents when you started working, for the keep, what they used to call it. So, to cut a long story, very, very short, I never did find another job. I stayed. And eventually my mum said, oh, well, we're thinking of opening another shop, because at the time we only had one. She said, if we open another shop, if you decide you want to be with us, it'll be full-time and we'll give you a wage. So I said, right, done. So that was it. That's why I stayed in the wool shop as long as I did. Wasn't intended to be. I should have gone to university, I think I've told you before. I should have been an occupational therapist. But I didn't get to university because I was having my appendix taken out. And I didn't get there for Freshers' Week. So when I decided that I would take a year out, that's when my mum said, you better find yourself a job. So, story of my life. How things could have been different. Would your life have been different if you'd have done different things? If you'd have followed your heart's desire? I would have been an occupational therapist, and after a few years I wouldn't have had a job, because people didn't stay in hospital that long anymore. And if you had a stroke or something, you went to a stroke rehabilitation centre, whereas before you used to stay in hospital. So nobody would have even wanted to be taught how to knit, crochet, weave, make baskets or anything like that, which was what an occupational therapist did. The idea being behind it is it makes you use muscles. Say you've had a stroke, for example, not wishing that on anybody, but say perhaps you've had a stroke or something, and you've lost the use of one side. Making baskets, etc. Oh, hang on, my phone's going. Why will it never stop? Making baskets and that was to encourage you to use the side that was paralysed or partially paralysed back into using it. So that was what I wanted to do. Because my uncle had been an occupational therapist in a sanitarium in Abergele in Wales. And when I was about 7 or 8, I used to go and watch what he was doing, and it fascinated him, his big weaving looms, etc. Anyway, I'm going to go now and continue tidying up, although the route is passing on me very quickly. Bye for now.